All right, here we are. Sorry, I'm a little excited. I just had a preview of what's for dinner tonight. It's these thin pork chops, fried pork chops. All you gotta do is say fried and I'm there. Fried breaded pork chops. Super good. I just had a preview and tasted one. Oh my god. So I'm gonna get this video done and I'm gonna go eat. So sorry, I had to share. Simple video, just about talking about washing a dirt bike. Well, people think, oh, what's the big deal, washing a dirt bike? Well, there's a couple little precautions, in my opinion, that you can take, and I'm going to share them with you. So, first things first, exhaust plug. I'm laughing because people call this a butt plug, which, anyway, exhaust plug. You always want to plug your exhaust. If you don't have one, at least duct tape it over. Reason being, you don't want water to get down into your packing of your muffler, whether it's 2-stroke, 4-stroke, and get saturated and wet, because it's going to wear the packing out a lot sooner than it normally would. Alright, so make sure your exhaust plug is in place. If you're an Enduro guy like me, over here on the east side of the country, we have timekeeping events still. They're moving over to Star Control, it's a whole nother story. So I have an ICO computer on for the Enduro this weekend still. My precaution is I just throw a plastic bag over it. It can't hurt it to get it wet, but my issue is I've been down this road where, you know, a little bit too much water around the plastic cover over the lens over the numbers gets a little bit wet, gets some moisture up underneath of it, and creates an issue. And it's just a precaution. Just put a bag over it, keep the moisture away from it. You can always clean it with just a wet rag. You know, you ain't got to really pressure wash the thing. One of the things I learned a long time ago is as far as your air filter. One, either take your air filter out and replace it with, you know, one of these, a plastic cover. I think this is a Tusk that I got from, actually it says KTM on it. So maybe it's a KTM OEM one. I thought it was a Tusk one. I usually get a lot of stuff from Rocky Mountain. Great people to deal with. And they distribute a lot of Tusk products that's coming out more and more with. And just great stuff. But anyway, you want to remove the air filter or at least cover it with a plastic bag. Reason being, you know, even with the air box cover in place, your air filter can get wet. Air filter gets wet, you start the bike and it's a wet air filter. Where's that moisture going? It's going to get sucked into the motor. Any kind of moisture in the motor is not good. I mean, a little bit is going to happen, but why? Just keep it out of there as much as possible. You don't want it down around your main bearings and stuff like that. It could create an issue down the road. Alright, so keeping moisture out of your motor. If you don't have one of these, at least cover your air filter with a plastic bag and replace the air filter cover. In this case, I'm going to pull out my air filter completely, remove the cover, and replace it with this. I also, when I replace it with this, I'm going to show you all this, I put a little piece of paper towel, wadded up in the boot, in the actual air filter boot. Reason being, I mean, this has got a rubber seal around it and it's sealed pretty good. No moisture really gets in there, but just for safety precaution as far as keeping moisture out away from that throttle body, keeping all the moisture from going into the motor. Okay, and be sure that when you remove this, because I've seen it where guys have done this, put the air filter back in, get to go to a race or get the bike out of the garage and the thing won't start because it's still got this choking off your air and you have no bike won't run. So. Turn the bike sideways a little bit. I'm running out of daylight. It's gonna be dark soon. So. Okay. Thing is, like, I wouldn't say I'm anal. I don't like to use that term because I know that people that are anal kind of get on my nerves. But I try and keep a little bit of the dirt as much out of there as I possibly can. So I would take a rag. I mean, if you're like me, you run the air filter quite long, which this one was only in there in Enduro in like 2 practice nights. So it's not much dirt. I usually run a dust cover, a whole nother filter. But and then around this little pin here, wipe some of the dirt away as much as I can. And the other thing is, the main thing besides that, because I mean the dirt's down bottom, dirt up top. if anything's kind of built up on your subframe or anything, when you go to pull the air filter out, it's going to scrape the bottom of your subframe, and that dirt's more apt to fall right in the air boot. So I always like to pull this, pull the bottom, and then pull the filter out like this rather than like this, because if you pull it out like that, it can drop right into the boot. I know it sounds crazy. I don't want to use the dirty rag that I just took everything off. So I'll put this in the boot. I can put that right back in, dude. She's clean. I'm kidding. Alright, make sure you put it on the right way. Kind of offset, oblong. Screws right back in like an air filter. I always, even with an air filter, try and just check around it to make sure, especially with an air filter. I've been down that road and seen that where the guys had not had it in there quite right, gotten dirt sucked into the motor, so it's not good. All right, the thing is now, we're ready to go. Just simply wet the bike down. Okay, you're gonna wet it down, pre-soak it, get as much off of it as you can. It's not really that dirty. I mean, we've been lucky lately in South Jersey. It's not much mud. We have sand here more than anything. So I'm gonna leave this here so I can clear that off. Put this out of harm's way so it doesn't get any moisture in it. I'm not gonna reuse it obviously, but I'm gonna pre-soak it. Butt plugs in place. Make sure you get up underneath the fenders good. And I try and make sure that, you know, you guys are conscious of bearings, you know, like steering head bearings and linkage bearings. Granted, your linkage bearings, you gotta spray them off, but don't just sit there and hold the pressure washer, you know, at the bearing. When you wash areas like this, just go like you're spraying paint. A swipe by it. Don't just sit there with it directly on the bearing or on where the bearing's located. Just swipe by it. So you're still washing it, but you're not just directly holding on there. Because if you do that, well, a lot of times water will just go right into the bearing and right in past the seal. So just be conscious of that. As far as what I use, soap. I've talked about this many times. This stuff's at Dollar General. Any dollar store should have this. Awesome, it's called. Easy to remember, right? I love the word awesome. Awesome. It's actually LA's Totally Awesome is what it's called. LA's Totally Awesome, all-purpose concentrated cleaner, degreaser, and spot remover. You can put this straight on. It's not going to discolor anything. You can use it straight on, and you don't have to dilute it. You can dilute it if you want to want to get a little bit more out of this. It's like $3 for this. It's not that. It's very inexpensive. Works just as good as anything I've seen on the dirt bike market. I would use this over anything on the dirt bike market. One, because I'm cheap, but two, because it works just as good. You use this in the house, on carpets, use it cleaning cars, use it cleaning siding. You can use this for just about anything. LA's Totally Awesome. Look it up. So it works really good. Okay, so I don't pre-soak it with water. You want to spray everything off with water. You don't want to put soap. I've seen people do that. The bike's not even wet, and they go to put soap on. In my opinion, it's wasting soap. Get the bike wet first and get as much of the dirt off you can with the pressure washer alone, without soap. Usually we pressure wash. It's getting too late in the year. We've already blown out our sprinklers. Usually we pressure wash on a deck. The deck where it's up off the ground. One we had, it's probably 2-3 feet off the ground, and we've got some dirt just about reaching the wood now. But at least with a deck, you can wash the dirt through the deck. Because if you have an absolute mutter and you're working on a flat surface such as concrete, it's hard to get rid of that dirt sometimes, and it just builds up. If you have an open deck with a space between the boards, obviously the pieces of wood, it's a place for the dirt to wash out of the way. So, and out of idea. I've watched bikes before across the country at people's houses where they deal with the city and stuff. Oh my God, you got to dig the dirt out and all out of the grate and stuff. It's not fun. Turn my pressure washer on. All I use is a 1700 PSI Ryobi pressure washer. Dinner's ready. Ryobi pressure washer, 1700. I'll give you a close up of that before we're done. So, turn her on. You don't really want to hold it too hard in this direction towards your radiators. You always want to wash your radiators more when the louver's removed from the other direction, so you're blowing what dirt has you know, getting thrown into your radiator, blow it out the direction it came in. You don't want to blow it back through. Your seat's going to get wet, obviously, but you don't want to directly, you know, just get it like directly on it. Just always brush by it. Especially with a lot of different seat covers with a lot of different material, it's real easy for the moisture to go through the material. What I'm getting at is you don't want to get your seat foam too wet. It's going to get wet, but the more wetter you get it, and the more the moisture stays inside it, the longer it is, the more the seat actually breaks down and gets soft. That's why when we, you know, one of the things we're going to do here in the future, take the seat off, obviously, when we take the seat and tank off and wash the bike, we always stand the seat up in the garage, nose to tail, you know, one end up in the air and the other one down, just so all the water drains through the seat. You always want to do that so it doesn't just sit in the actual foam and break down more. So. Getting ready for a local enduro, last enduro, the local series here this weekend. Sandy Lane's coming up. So they usually are at the beginning of the year, first or second enduro. They had some land issues or something. They had to reschedule for the end of the year. Which is cool, at least they got to reschedule it. Like I said, we're going to remove some stuff. I usually try to. I don't always do it, depending on how dirty it is. And I've been guilty of not being a total maintenance hog all the time. We're going to remove the seat and tank. Obviously block off the fuel line. And the skid plate. Skid plate holds a lot of crap. So that's one of the reasons after this we're going to lay it on its side and wash it too. This skid plate, definitely awesome skid plate to have indoor gearing, but it holds a little dirt, which I mean, it's just one of the downsides. At least it protects your motor. So take her off. Start top to bottom. Alrighty. So, like I said, we're gonna lay it on the side real quick. We'll pull everything off, just so we can spray that skid plate off and. Bolt holes get full with some dirt. Let's just put the handle grip up on the stand. Or you just lay it all the way on the side. Either or. And this is always something mandatory when it's a mud race as well. Okay, so now, like I said, I'm going to wash underneath my gas tank, wash the louvers out a little bit better, and the next thing I would do is roll this over to the garage. I'm going to blow it off now with compressed air, my air compressor, but be sure that you're not blowing the air, the water into your bearings, like your steering head, linkage, stuff like that. Be conscious of that, and like around your wiring and stuff like that. You want to blow it off, but don't stop. You know what I mean? Just keep blowing across it. And then I'm going to spray it down with something like WD-40 or something like that. And actually, the reason I do that is because it keeps dirt from sticking to it, so the next time it's a little easier to wash and keep clean. So that's one of the things I do, and that's pretty much how I wash my bike.